sponsored by Imprint. Dogs are mentioned 41 times in the Bible, 32 times in the Hebrew Bible, and 9 in the New Testament. And in general, dogs are portrayed in a negative light. In the Book of Kings, dogs are unclean scavengers, the perfect animal for disposing of the corpses of the wicked. 1 Kings says anyone belonging to the rebellious King Jeroboam who dies in the city, the dogs shall eat. And 2 Kings prophesied that the dogs shall eat the flesh of the evil Queen Jezebel. When David confronts the Philistine champion Goliath armed only with a staff, a sling, and a few rocks, Goliath is insulted and mocks David for treating him like a dog. Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? The Book of Psalms likens dogs to an aggressive company of evildoers. And in the Book of Proverbs, a dog's behavior is used as a metaphor for foolishness. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. Elsewhere, they're used to represent dirtiness, danger, or greed. And things aren't much better in the New Testament. For example, dogs are linked with evildoers and false prophets in the Book of Revelation. Though in this video, we'll only be focusing on the Hebrew Bible, where the most references to dogs appear. Back in 1960, the Hebrew Bible scholar David Winton Thomas looked at these references and concluded that the Israelites must have considered the dog to be a vile and contemptible animal, despised and generally wretched. But is this true? All of this negativity might come as a surprise because in ancient societies, dogs were humanity's faithful companion for thousands of years. Many scholars think that dogs were the first animal that humans domesticated, domesticating them as far back as 15,000 years ago. Dogs and humans share a special relationship on a social level, unlike any other animal. Animal behavior scientists have found that dogs seem to communicate with humans through subtle body language. Specifically, one study found that dogs stare at our hands, meaning that they have an attention style specialized for human nonverbal communication focused on human hand gestures. Other scientists have found that the relationship between pet dogs and their human caregivers resembles the attachment bond between human babies with their mothers. So if dogs were cherished and valued across many different cultures in antiquity, why does the Bible seem to hate them? First, let's examine the cultural context of the ancient Near East. As far back as the Neolithic period, dogs were part of the social fabric of ancient Near Eastern societies. They played multiple roles like guarding, hunting, and herding, roles that were absolutely vital for an agrarian economic system that depended on raising livestock. The great empires of the ancient Middle East, such as the ancient Egyptians, the Hittites, and the Assyrians, all valued dogs as well. They're frequently depicted in ancient Egyptian art, especially what the Egyptians called a tesem, their word for a hunting dog. They appear consistently with a slender body, pointy ears, and a curly tail, something like the Basenji, a breed of hunting dog that is believed to have originated in Central Africa. Other examples resemble modern breeds like the greyhound or the whippet. And archaeologists have even discovered dog collars from ancient Egypt, with the dogs' names still inscribed on them. Around 80 dog names appear in the archaeological record of ancient Egypt. Roughly translated, names like Blackie, Faithful, Brave, Northwind, and Catcher. Dogs were also part of life in ancient Mesopotamia and among the Hittites up in Anatolia. Figurines from Mesopotamia portray guard dogs with collars, and hunting scenes from the Hittites show hunting dogs alongside the human hunter. The Hittites also used puppies in magical healing rituals, where you'd hold up a puppy up to the patient and chant, "Just as the puppy licks its own 9 body parts, in the same way, let it lick up the illness in so-and-so's body parts." Basically, puppies are being used in an illness transfer ritual. Sounds nice, but the Hittites also ritually slaughtered dogs as a sacrifice, but even that demonstrates that the Hittites valued dogs on a more sacred level. So from the available evidence, it seems that dogs were valued in all of the civilizations of the ancient biblical world. And I do mean all because this also includes the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, despite their negative portrayal in the Bible. In a recent study on dogs during the Iron Age in ancient Israel and Judah, archaeologists found that dog remains are actually not all that rare in the archaeological record in this region. In fact, archaeologists have found dog bones at around 66% of archaeological sites around the kingdoms of Judah and Israel, including at some of the largest Israelite and Judahite cities. Dog bones have been found at Megiddo, a major strategic city that was part of the northern kingdom of Israel, as well as Lachish, one of the most important cities of the southern kingdom of Judah. And from this evidence, we can piece together how dogs fit into ancient Israelite society. The researchers found that sites with a lot of sheep and goat bones also had a lot of dog bones. They argue this means that people in ancient Israel used dogs for herding and guarding livestock. Not a super surprising conclusion because we see this in every contemporary culture. And the Bible does explicitly reference sheepdogs in Job 30. And guard dogs are mentioned in the Bible as well in the book of Isaiah. In fact, Dr. Joshua Schwartz at Bar-Ilan University hypothesizes that the kings of Israel and Judah probably kept guard dogs. Given the likelihood that the Israelites used herding and guard dogs, we can also assume there was a whole profession of dog trainers and handlers. People with the specialized knowledge to turn a dog into a valuable working animal. It also implies there was an industry of dog breeders, selecting dogs to fit specific roles. But like so much of daily life in antiquity, these sorts of professions are invisible to historians as they slip through the cracks of elite narratives like what we find in the Bible. So while we do not have evidence that dogs were cherished as pets, as we do from ancient Egypt, we do have evidence that dogs played a vital role in the economies of ancient Israel and Judah as work dogs. But if they were so useful to the economy, why all the analogies portraying dogs as low status, unclean, aggressive, or evil? To answer that, let's turn to the city of Ashkelon on the southern coast of Israel. For centuries, Ashkelon was a major city of the perennial enemies of the Israelites, the Philistines. Dogs were also part of the social fabric of Philistine society, but often as a meal or a ritual sacrifice. From what we can tell, the Philistines ate dogs on special occasions. Dog bones from ancient Philistine cities, which you can see here on screen, show clear signs of dogs being butchered for consumption, and puppies have been found buried in pots within Philistine homes, which some scholars have interpreted as evidence of puppy sacrifices. Ashkelon always comes up when scholars talk about dogs in the Bible because here archaeologists discovered over 1,000 dog burials that date to the Persian period. Now, even though this is a few centuries after the kings of Israel and Judah, it's still useful comparative data. Such a huge sample size enables archaeologists to create a sketch of the average dog population in the ancient Near East. The dogs of Ashkelon were medium-sized, and probably not selectively bred for specialized work like herding or guarding. Although no breed today exactly matches the Ashkelon dogs, the breed called the Canaan dog, which we saw at the start of this video, is considered to be a close match. The breed is said to be very ancient, and descend from native dogs living along the eastern coast of the Mediterranean in antiquity. Many of the Ashkelon dogs show evidence of malnutrition, parasites, and bone fractures that had healed, meaning that they lived long enough for bones to mend after their injury. Taken together, the evidence points to a population of relatively unmanaged, free-ranging street dogs, sometimes known as pariah dogs. Dogs like this live on the margins of human society, where they have adapted to scavenge and survive without direct human care and intervention. They're often mixed breed, and their appearance can vary widely from dog to dog. Given their lack of socialization, their behavior tends to be more independent and wary, especially around humans. However, they may also be viewed negatively due to concerns about disease, aggression, and their association with dirt and trash. And here we might have our answer to the Bible's negative attitudes toward dogs. The negative references seem to refer specifically to the behavior of street dogs, and does not reflect a blanket opinion on dogs as a whole as vile and contemptible, as David Winton Thomas argued back in 1960. These semi-wild dogs were certainly part of village life in ancient Israel and Judah. Every day, people would have seen dogs with matted fur and covered in dust, roaming through the unpaved streets of the village, eating garbage, and sometimes scavenging dead bodies, animal and probably human bodies alike. The historian Sophia Menache argues that the negative attitude toward dogs in the Hebrew Bible is tied to dogs' scavenging behavior. In fact, the book of Exodus even instructs the Israelites to dispose of ritually impure food by throwing it to dogs. "You shall be holy people to me. You must not eat flesh torn by beasts in the field. You shall cast it to the dogs." All those references of dogs eating the bodies of your enemies like Jezebel also points to feral dog scavenging behavior. Curiously, the law codes in the Hebrew Bible never declare dogs to be ritually impure animals, like pigs. But touching a corpse would have conferred ritual impurity, and it's likely that this behavior led to the unfavorable view in biblical literature, associating specifically street dogs with impurity, even though the average person associated with work dogs on a more mundane level as part of the canine economy. In the end, the archaeologists conclude that the negative references to dogs in the Bible obscure the actual relationship between dogs and the ancient Israelites. Yes, there were almost certainly semi-wild dogs roaming around ancient Israelite villages, barking, growling, and scavenging. But at the same time, dogs were also an active part of the community, as sheep herders, hunters, and guard dogs. Which leads the researchers to conclude we should move away from understanding Iron Age dogs as simply unclean or pariah animals. The situation on the ground was more complicated. Some dogs were valued and probably even cherished, while many more were viewed as dirty and dangerous. Moreover, we can find dog-themed insults from neighboring civilizations. Pharaoh Ramses II, in a correspondence with the Hittite king, complained that his envoy was lying, saying, "Who is this dog?" The pharaoh Merneptah, when battling the Libyans, insults their leader, saying their chief is like a dog, a boastful man without courage. If historians only had access to 32 examples of canine-themed insults from ancient Egypt, then we'd assume the Egyptians also hated dogs. But instead we have a wealth of evidence ranging from dog collars to sculptures depicting dogs as companions, which balances the historical picture. The situation reminds me somewhat of the Bible's view on pigs. The laws of the Hebrew Bible famously forbid the Israelites from eating pork. But even in Jerusalem, Israeli archaeologists recently discovered a nearly complete skeleton of a piglet in the heart of the city, dating to the time of the kings of Judah. The pig was found in a room with cooking vessels and other animal bones, which showed signs of being butchered. Someone was raising pigs for food in the capital of the Kingdom of Judah, within a few minutes' walk from the Temple of God itself, which raises questions about how widespread were these food taboos? Were people actually following them, or did they even exist at the time? It's potentially misleading to make sweeping claims about ancient Israelite society based solely on a few passing references found in biblical texts, which may not provide a comprehensive view of daily life and cultural practices, especially of the non-elite. In the case of dogs in Iron Age Israel and Judah, the biblical disdain for dogs reflects more a specific social phenomenon common in ancient villages rather than a complete condemnation of canines. To create this video, I spent hours reading and synthesizing half a dozen peer-reviewed articles and chapters, including that very recent archaeological study about dogs in the Iron Age. And every step along the way, I was distracted by social media, clicking away to Instagram or TikTok. I'm not proud to admit that. I love learning, but research is very hard with social media constantly waging war on my attention span. So I'm always looking for tools that help replace mindless scrolling with something constructive and productive. That's why I'm excited for today's sponsor, Imprint. Imprint is an educational app that helps you understand complex topics with bite-sized quick reads. This includes visual, interactive guides to popular books by award-winning professors and authors. So, for example, I'm very interested in the social psychology of religion, so I was excited to see that Imprint has a summary of The Power of Us, a book by two psychologists about group cooperation and collective identities. With a visual guide, Imprint walks you through research on the psychological reasons why we tend to cling to false beliefs, even when presented with evidence that debunks those beliefs. Throughout the guide, Imprint gives opportunities to save and remember key concepts like cognitive dissonance, so you can remember these concepts long term. Now, if you're not super into social psychology, Imprint offers a range of topics to learn about: finance, leadership, health, and my other favorites, history and philosophy. If you want to be more intentional, you can even choose a learning path to embark on a goal-driven course of study. Do you want to make smarter decisions, live a healthier life? By choosing a learning path, you'll get a progression of pre-selected lessons and books that walk you through a comprehensive experience over the course of several days. Imprint also offers longer courses, like The Science of Happiness. It's a 7-day course, 15 minutes a day, where you can learn about evidence-based methods of improving your well-being, led by Harvard psychologist Jason Mitchell. So if you want to stop mindlessly scrolling, Imprint is a way to feel good about your screen time and learn something new. To sign up, go to imprintapp.com/religionforbreakfast. The first 200 subscribers get 20% off an annual membership. Again, that's imprintapp.com/religionforbreakfast. Thanks, everyone.